friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here for another Monday This and That, where I talk about all kinds of different topics, answering some questions that may have come in the past week, and whatever else I feel like talking about. So let's get to the topics of today. I realize I don't have any visuals out here on the counter like usual, but I'll be adding whatever pictures and clips that might go with whatever I'm talking about. So I'm going to start off with the question I got the other day about the offsite food storage that we have. And someone asked me, what's that? What is that something I should be doing? And really, it's all up to you and if you're able to. Now, I think it was about 2 years ago-ish where I was going over different levels of food storage, types of food storage. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll find it and I'll put it in the description box down below. And here's a picture of the thumbnail. Anyway, yes, we do have an offsite food storage. And why would we do that? Well, for a couple of reasons. One is it's just a way that we can expand on our food storage, and also having a location where you can store such things offsite will prevent you from losing everything in the event of a wildfire that might burn down your whole house and take all of your supplies. Because no matter how prepared you are, you can still lose everything. I've had many people in the years I've had my channel share with me about how they had all their preps, they had all their animals, they had a whole farm, and a fire took everything. There's certain things that are just simply beyond our control. So all we can do is the best we can do. And since we have other pieces of property, we have other places that we can set up food storage in such events. And so I think it's wise if you're able to do that, but don't feel pressured into doing something that you're unable to do. But if you would like to think of a secondary source of being able to store food somewhere other than on your own property, maybe consider teaming up with a family member or a friend who is like-minded. It's like I was talking about it, people who have minimal space. Maybe they live in a small place, an apartment or whatever. They really don't have space for a lot of food storage or to have chickens or something, but maybe they have friends or family that do have that kind of space, and maybe you guys can work out a deal for, even for gardening, where, they get half of whatever's there if it's necessary. And, there's a lot of things that you can kind of look into if you're just creative and think things through. And, it was kind of how we got this lamb that we got in the freezer right now. It was by doing a barter. We did some work for some people on their farm, and in exchange, we got some lamb. And that was pretty nice to be able to get that. And boy, I tell you, it's the best tasting lamb we've ever had. And we're not big lamb eaters, but this one is good. So sometimes it's just a matter of thinking outside the box and thinking about other ways that maybe you can better your situation, no matter how big or small your place is, your food storage. You don't have to run out and buy another piece of property and put in some kind of infrastructure just to have an offsite food storage location. But anyway, the purpose was for me to just answer that question and lead you back to that video I did however long ago it was, so you could learn a little bit more about the different levels that we have and how we do it. Okay, then another question I got was when I posted that picture of the snow peas I'm fermenting this year, because I'm finding that is my favorite way now to preserve snow peas, and the secondary way is to freeze them. Freezing them will last longer, but the fermenting will keep them crisp for a longer period of time than the freezing, because the freezing will immediately just turn them a little softer when you go to thaw them. But the fermenting, especially when you add either grape leaves or horseradish leaves, will keep them crisp an even longer time. But I still recommended you work through them within 6 to 8 months. Well, because I like to add horseradish leaves, those are my favorites to add to my cucumber kimchi to keep the cucumbers crisp, and the snow peas to keep them crisp over grape leaves, because for one, they seem to work better, and also they add just this nice flavor. It's a little bit of horseradish flavor, but it's not hot to whatever it is I'm fermenting. So with that said, people were asking questions. Well, where do I find horseradish leaves? Well, honestly, I'm sorry. I sometimes forget things like this. A lot of times when I'm throwing out information like that, it's for the sake of those who are already growing horseradish. I don't know if you can go buy horseradish leaves. I have no idea. But for those people who are already growing it, which here it grows like a weed, quite literally, you're going to get a lot of leaves. And they're big too, but they can also be used as food or used in fermenting. You don't have to just use the roots. And so I like to share that kind of information because some people won't know that. They might just think they're growing it just for the roots without realizing that the leaves themselves have use. But maybe you know someone who's growing horseradish you can get horseradish leaves from, or if you have a little bit of garden space, try growing it yourself if you like horseradish. If you don't like it, don't grow it. Use those grape leaves instead if you have those. Okay, and the next thing is in regards to rainwater. So we collect and filter our own rainwater. And this is the water we use for cooking in, for making our coffees and teas in, for drinking, etc. Anything that we're going to consume. Also, a lot of it gets used for watering our garden. So every time this topic comes up, it seems there's always somebody that will say, but there's chemicals in the rainwater. And the reason this always makes me kind of laugh or shake my head or both is that, yes, there's chemicals in everything. If it's going to be in your rainwater, it's going to be in your well water, it's going to be in your city water, it's going to be in your spring water. This is why you filter it, okay? We filter the rainwater. We don't drink it straight off of the roof, especially since it's going to be collecting pollens and dirt and bird poop on the way down. Obviously, we want it as clean as possible, but that's going to go for whatever water you are drinking. And if you are afraid of rainwater, you might as well be afraid of all of it. I think sometimes people say things like that because they don't want to go through the trouble of collecting rainwater. And you know what? That's fine. If you don't have a way to do it, or you don't want to go through the trouble of doing it, don't. Do what's best for you. Do what works best for you. If you already have a well, you may not need to do the rainwater catchment. You gotta find what's gonna work best for you and never feel pressured into doing something or feel like you gotta come up with excuses why you shouldn't do it. Just practice what you can and what works best. And we have several reasons why we do the rainwater, even though we're still on city tap water. That gets used for washing everything. That's mostly what that gets used for, filling up the kiddie pool, etc. But we do both. And one of the reasons, by the way, that we got serious about putting in the rainwater catchment wasn't just to have a backup water source, which of course is very important because you never know what can happen. And sometimes main breaks happen and you can be without city water for a whole day. But also because at the time, at least, our city tap water had fluoride in it, and we were trying to heal our thyroids and get off the thyroid medication. So that was a very important thing. Fluoride being one of the biggest attributors to slowing down the thyroid glands and result in poor functioning thyroid. And so that is why that was one of the biggies that we needed to change. That and getting rid of all the Teflon pans. So with that said, another question I got was somebody saying, you should shoot a video on how you went off the thyroid medication. Clearly, this is someone who's newer to my channel and doesn't know I actually have several videos on this. In fact, back in 2016, when I first started my channel, I was talking a lot about this. And then in 2018, Patrick and I sat down and did a very thorough video where we shared our own personal testimonies, and then I went into some details of a lot of the changes we personally made. This is not what you should necessarily do. We can only share what we did because we're not doctors. We did this based on our own research and learning about things as we went. And we've been off the thyroid medication since 2012 and doing good without it. And then I also did a follow-up video in 2022 where I just kind of rehashed some of that stuff and added a little bit more information. And what I'll do is link to both of those videos in the description box down below. But remember, whenever you are, you hear me mention something in a video and I may not say, hey, I have a video on this, assume that I do. You can still ask, I don't mind, but a lot of people will say, you should do a video on this, you should do a video on that. And in most cases, I already have one. So I haven't looked lately. I know it's like over 2,500 videos because I've been doing this for 10 years almost. So it'll be 10 years, August 14th, that I've been putting videos up. So yeah, you can always go look it up. Remember, you can just put Rain Country and then the topic of the video you're looking for into your YouTube search bar. Rain Country, thyroid, and you will find at least the 2 videos I just mentioned that I'll be linking to down below. And maybe it will pull up some of my original videos where I was just talking about being pharma-free in general. And I do mention some of the thyroid stuff in those too, but the more thorough ones are the 2 that I'm linking you to. Okay, and then here's another one. So it was a couple weeks ago, I had somebody, it's one of those kind of people that likes to be right about everything, that came in and was correcting me about the way I say plantain. But yes, I know there's actually 2 ways to say it. And some people were surprised when they heard me say this in a recent video that I said something like, I'm going to keep saying that way. I don't care what anyone else says. So a couple people were like, there's another way to say plantain. And I'm like, yep, there actually is. It's plantain. And some people do pronounce it that way. It isn't as common, but both pronunciations are correct. And all anyone has to do is look up plantain pronunciation. And especially if you go to the ones that have like a whole list of different people saying the same word, and you'll hear a few say plantain and most will say plantain. Both are correct. So at any rate, just to let you know, which it's no different than whether you say herb or herb. It's a lot of it's going to depend on how you were raised, especially where in the world you were raised and how it's pronounced in your area. It doesn't make one person better or smarter or more right than the other. Though I will say, when you look at the etymology of the word herb, H-E-R-B, and you learn a little bit more about it, I personally believe that dropping the H is the more appropriate way, but that doesn't mean that if you live in the parts of the UK that pronounce the H, that you are wrong, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying sometimes look at the etymology of the word before you get bent out of shape and feel like screaming and cussing at people because they don't say it your way. By the way, how many of you pronounce the H in honor, air, honest, hour, as in the hour on the clock, or heir as in heir to the throne? Just some things to think about it. Unless you're pronouncing the H in all of those words as well as the herb, then you have no room to talk. Stop being so hypocritical. Okay, one last thing is I just want to give you a little bit of a schedule update. So I'm having to change things yet again due to the schedule of watching my grandbabies. That my live shows over on my secondary channel, Rain Country Live, also known as Rain Country 2, that is always linked in the description box below. I do lives once a week. For a while, I was doing them on Wednesdays. I'm having now to switch that to Mondays at the same time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you look that up so you can find out what time that is in your own location if you like to do the live shows. But if you're not a live show kind of person, because they can be long and rambly, because some of that is just all about the chat and having fun together, just know that the important topics that I talk about do get taken out and made into shorter, more concise videos with added clips, text, photos, whatever, to help, better describe what I'm talking about. So, yeah, so that's my schedule now, but this also means that I have to shoot my this and that videos on Mondays as well, which means it's a whole week before they publish. I wish I could do it differently, but this is what's currently working into my schedule. So I still try to keep you as up to date as things as possible. But remember, there's always posts, whether it be on YouTube or my X or my Instagram or my Facebook page. If I feel like it's something that needs to be even more updated, you can always follow me on any of those. Links will be found in the description box down below. Don't forget to click on more or show more, depending on what platform you're watching us on. And any thoughts, ideas you'd like to share, please put those in comments down below. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.